Hello and welcome back to the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. That was a very formal way of saying that, but we're going to roll with it. I'm Erin Sorensen. He's Jacob Padilla. He is our men's basketball beat reporter. He has all the knowledge, and we are going to talk some men's basketball today because they are practicing. We are in the thick of it for summer practice. You've gotten to hear from Fred Hoiberg, a couple of players, more players to come. So let's just dive into it. Knowing that there's so much to still be answered when it comes to Nebraska basketball, what would you say was the most interesting thing that you have learned from Fred Hoiberg so far? I also didn't give him any intro. Like, I didn't allow you to say how you were, nothing. We're just diving into it. So there you go.
Straight to the hoops.
Straight to the hoops.
I guess, I don't know if the most interesting, probably the most important was the injury updates that he kind of provided right off the bat. And Sam Griesel, the transfer from North Dakota State, who is probably their biggest offseason acquisition, is going to play a huge role on this team, has not practiced yet. He had surgery on his hip repair at labrum back on March 31st, I believe. And so they're hoping to get him back next week. He hasn't been able to participate in any of their workouts, but he's been around the program basically since he got done up in North Dakota State. He's been around the guys. He's already been active in the community. He's doing everything that he wants to do with this last year. Wilhelm Breidenbach, who obviously had his season ended with a knee injury.
I just want him to do well because his lead out song last year for the big Husker night was a Taylor Swift song. So it's
obviously your favorite player.
It's my favorite player on the team.
But he is doing well and ahead of schedule, I believe, is what Fred said. He's basically all his jumping tests are back to pre-injury range and all that. So they're hoping to get him back relatively soon as well. And so those are the only two guys that they've had a few rolled ankle here or little nicks here and there, but for the most part, they've been healthy throughout all their summer workouts and things. Casey Tomanaga.
I was going to say, now that's not an injury, so don't worry, we're not breaking in injury news for you.
But he's not here because he qualified for the Japanese national team that is playing a real qualifying event overseas right now. So good for him. That's really awesome. I know he represented Japan in the 3x3 in the Olympics last time, and so now he's getting to actually play with the senior team, the 5-on-5. So good for him. He's not here yet, but it's a very good reason. He'll join the team shortly. And then beyond that, it's just I think the new guys are fitting in well, and he likes what those guys are bringing. All the new guys that are healthier here have been working out. They've all showed some of the reasons why they targeted those guys and brought them in, and they've continued to kind of revamp their defense a little bit too with Adam Howard coming in and with the complete change in the roster. I think this team is going to play quite a bit different than what we saw last year, and the starting point for that is the summer workouts as these guys kind of get used to each other, get used to the coaching staff and what they want to do.
Well, that's actually a good question. Is I know for a lot of people who are going to be watching this, I can already hear the question of what does it matter? I know there's a lot of frustration with the Nebraska men's basketball team, and specifically Fred Hoiberg over the 2021-2022 season. So you just said it should play this should be different. I'm not talking results. I'm just saying the style of play should be a little bit different. What can we say about that, knowing that a lot of people are going to just be going, I don't really care, show me the results?
Yeah, and I think Fred realized it wasn't working what they had been trying, so they're just based on their recruiting results and what he said, what the roster looks like, they are going to have to play a different way this year. They're not going to have the same top-end offensive talent with a Bryce McGowan's in particular, and even an Alonzo Bird Jr., a guy who scored 40 in a game at the high major level. They don't have those individual scores. What they do have is they have a lot more length. They have a lot more physicality and defensive ability up and down the lineup. And so they're going to lean more into the defensive side of things. And then hopefully that will allow them to be a little bit more competitive, because last year they took a big step back on defense, and that was a big part of their struggles. So they're prioritizing defense. You got a guy like Griesel at the point at 6'7", long arms, good athlete. You got guys up and down the lineup. You got more size with Blaze Keita coming in at the center spot to kind of tandem with Derek Walker coming back, who is a solid defensive player, if undersized. Jawan Gary's physical, kind of forward type. And so they're just going to, and even a guy like, we'll talk to him soon, but CJ Wilcher, both Fred and others in the program have raved about his offseason transformation physically and the weight he's cut. And I think that was, I mean, they had him playing some 4 last year because they were undersized with when Brian Bach went down, but also because he wasn't the quickest guy on the team and they struggled with lateral quickness. It sounds like he's cut significant weight. He's faster. He's thinner, and I think he'll play an even bigger role this year because he was one of the bright spots from last year's team, the way he shot the ball offensively.
I will say CJ Wilcher was like probably the one that stood out to me when we had the like basketball media day last year, where we got to have everybody filter through. They took photos and everything, and like he definitely has, I think, he has a really, I think his personality fits really well to bringing a team along, and he just, I don't really know how to like put it into words. It's not so much energetic. It's just, I think he's kind of got a vibe to him that people do sort of follow him, and kind of like, you know, he wanted to do a certain kind of photo and suddenly everyone else wanted to do a certain kind of photo. And the reason I bring that up is because if his game has elevated itself, the fact that he does seem to just naturally bring people along with him, I feel like that's a positive. So I bring that up as like sometimes in these like media things, we do get to see little like snippets of their personalities that maybe will end up being a positive thing on the court later on. So like I said, just kind of a little anecdote, but something that stood out to me when I got to know him personally last year. And
I mean, Sam Griesel is totally that kind of guy as well, and that's what he wants to be. And that's why I think it was a big addition, not only for, he's a good basketball player, but just the cultural aspect of it and the leadership aspect. And now you've got, this is a really young team with Griesel, Derek Walker, and Emmanuel Bandamel, who is a transfer from SMU, who's another, he's 24 like Derek Walker. He has some old guys on the team. You've got kind of these 3 really experienced veterans to kind of lead all the young guys that fill out basically the rest of the roster. And I think that's going to be really important to have those guys on the team this year to kind of establish a foundation that they can build off of with those young guys who will hopefully be here and be important parts of the program for the next few years.
So a lot to come with basketball. It might not feel like basketball season, it's certainly not, but they are in the middle, like we said, of their summer workouts, summer practices, and Jacob has been covering it at hailvarsity.com. We'll continue to cover it at hailvarsity.com. So be sure to head back to this YouTube channel, because we'll have videos from players throughout the rest of the summer as they're available, but we will also have more at hailvarsity.com. So I'll just keep saying that. Go to hailvarsity.com. With that said, if you're also saying, this is great, men's basketball, but what about women's basketball? We will have some women's basketball content as well here shortly. Some exciting news. Drake Keeler will be joining us. He was an intern for Hail Varsity over the last year. He will be joining us on June 18th, and he will be covering one of his beats will be women's basketball. So we will be sure to make sure he provides some input here on this YouTube channel and at Hail Varsity as well. So that way you can get all of the information on Amy Williams and what she has coming for the 2022-2023 season. So don't worry, we will have coverage on women's basketball as well. Like I said, Jacob's got a lot to cover with basketball, with men's basketball. I'll be sure to bug you again. So thank you for now for your expertise. If you have questions for Jacob, anything on basketball, be sure to leave them in the comments of this video. Otherwise, we will be back soon with even more.